Welcome to another of our conversations, getting to know folk around Clèir Eilean Ì. And today, our guest is the Reverend Jade Maclean, who was the first minister to be ordained by the Presbytery Clèir Eilean Ì, Highlands and Hebrides. Welcome to you, Jade. How are you doing?
I'm good yourself,
I am very well indeed. What's keeping you busy these days, Jade?
apart from you. um, there's a lot of things going on actually at the moment, but basically at the moment I'm growing plants, lots and lots of plants. I'm trying to keep them alive for the plant sales.
Lots of plant sales being organized. And this was something that you did last year. And and I remember when you were talking about it saying, or at least thinking, I'm not sure this is going to work. But I was wrong. I was wrong. And the plant sales around various communities around the peninsula here were very successful, not only from the point of view of selling some plants and raising a few pennies. Would that be fair to say, Jade?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets you out into the community. I am a bit worried now that this year's are going to be such a disaster and you'll be able to go, ha ha, I told you so. But it
Not
gets
at
you out
all.
there into the communities, you get to meet people. And I think that is so important. Some people think the church is just this group of people who meet on a Sunday in the building. And we have to change that. And this is one way of doing it. The conversations that you strike up with people when they're looking at foxgloves or petunias is amazing. It really is. So I'm really looking forward to doing this again.
Fantastic. As someone at the beginning of the journey of ministry, and I I know you'd love to be around here in the peninsula for a long time yet, but I know that God has other plans, and some other congregation will be very fortunate sometime soon. What are you really looking forward to in being a parish minister in your own parish?
I think I'm looking forward to being settled. When you're doing the training, you do tend to move about a bit. So being settled in a community where you can form relationships with people and they can form a relationship with you, and you know that you're not going to be moving in the next 6 months or the next year, and allowing these relationships to blossom and flourish, and just to see where God has or where God is leading us, where what their spirit has got in mind for the place I've arrived in.
Yeah. Obviously, the church at the moment is in a time of change, and it can be easy to talk about decline and all the things that are not good. But I think you're quite enthusiastic about the future. What would you what would be some of your hopes for the Church of Scotland over the next few years?
I really am really quite optimistic. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't. Yes, we're going through a lot of change and a lot of flux at the moment, but I think that maybe we're being shaken up a bit, stirred up a bit, so that we have to think outside the mold and change the way we do things. And I think when we start to do that, when we find new ways of reaching out to people and stop expecting them to come to us, I think amazing things will happen in all communities. I think this is kind of what it's about. It's about making us realise what we're doing right, and we are doing a lot of things really well, but also the things we're not doing so well, and maybe ditch them and find new ways of doing church.
Yeah, and I heard you say recently, "Oh, I should have been a minister 100 years ago." Um, but you have embraced podcast. If someone had said to you 5 years ago that you would be doing video worship videos and you would be a guest on a podcast, you probably would have wondered if that really would be the case. But tell us a wee bit about and you can say what you want about this technophile. Tell us a wee bit about your journey with digital ministry.
Oh, yeah, I'm not you. You have your talents in the digital side of things and other things, but definitely the digital, and that's not my strength. But we work well together because we do have different strengths and weaknesses. I'm not saying you've got weaknesses. I do. um, but the digital ministry is something I'm learning about. So yes, podcasts and things like that are new to me, but I think they're amazing. They reach out and communicate with people in a different way than the Sunday morning service. Similarly, we do our services every week online on the Facebook pages and YouTube, and it means that people who can't come to church for whatever reason are able to link into that. And I know from personal experience how important that is, because in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, when we just started learning about Zoom and putting our services online, I had a bone marrow transplant, so I was unable to even leave my house. And to be able to link in and still feel part of a community, still feel part of a church family, was so important to my journey of recovery, I think.
Mm. Jade, thank you for mentioning that. And can you maybe tell us a wee bit more about your call, your journey towards ministry? I know it certainly wasn't an easy journey for you.
No, and I genuinely don't think anybody's is, because there are so many hurdles that we have to face and get over. So my story's not that much different from a lot of other people who are going through the same sort of journey into ministry. I felt called to the ministry when I was 16. I did absolutely nothing about it, although I did go to Glasgow and get my BD. I must admit I did that, um, but did nothing else. And it was the right choice now looking back on it, because I was not the right person to be going into ministry then. But then in 2015, I was diagnosed with leukemia, and that kind of brings a person up short, I suppose. So, and then once I was in treatment and I knew I was going to be okay, I kind of made a promise to myself and a promise to God that actually, yes, for all these years, I'd known I did this call and I would do something about it, which I did. And I went forward and went through all the process and was accepted as a candidate, only for my leukemia to come back in 2019. Um, so then I had to stop what I was doing with the church and have my bone marrow transplant in Glasgow. And there was a number of churches there that were really important in that journey as well. They were very supportive, as well as the chaplains in the hospitals too. Um, Once I'd had my bone marrow transplant, I came back to Glenelg and started again. However, during the time, my dad and my sister both died, and this was quite a shock. But the support I got from the community I live in, and also the communities that I'd been working in, and the ministers who had got to know me and I had got to know them, was amazing. And I don't think I would still be here on this journey if it hadn't been for them. So I have been blessed in so many ways. Yes, there's been some really awful points in it, but these awful points have been balanced out by the most amazing people of faith, and by God's love. And that
Mm.
that is a miracle in itself, I think.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that and for your openness. I think one of the really important things that we've discovered recently here on the peninsula is just the importance of creating the spaces for folk to share their stories, their questions, their concerns. I think one of the most meaningful things that is happening at the moment here in the peninsula churches is the wee gathering that we're having in Treeslake Village Hall, where, in a very informal setting, yeah, there's a hymn and a prayer at the beginning and end, but conversation around things that really matter. And we've spoken about death and dying. We've spoken about relationships, about ethical living. That's the theme for our next gathering. Do you want to say any more about that, Jade?
I think in many ways the reason that the tree select thing is working so well is at the moment we're living in a society where, take Facebook for example, it is a wonderful thing. I use it personally. We use it for church. Um, but so often it's pictures of the great things, the wonderful things, the happy events that are happening in our life. And nobody's really posting about the hard and the difficult things. Where at Trees Like, we're open and honest and we're talking about it and we're sharing with each other and we're helping each other. And we're doing it in a really safe environment because although we've not actually said it as such, none of us are taking this conversation and sharing it with our nearest and dearest, our neighbours, or and I think that that makes a difference to be able to go there, to be honest and open and say, this is my life. This is how faith is, affecting my life. And this is the problems and the ways that it's helped me. And just to be able to share with each other and to learn from each other has been a wonderful
Mm,
experience.
yeah, yeah. I think that sense of being able to grow in faith and to
Yeah.
journey with other people is so important. And I think there are maybe a lot of folk who, would not darken the doors of our churches on a Sunday morning, but would be open to a kind of different environment. And we certainly have to change the narrative, to change the story that we tell about ourselves and the stories that folk tell about the church. Maybe often thinking that church is how they, remember it from their childhood as something much more austere, and you've got to be quiet in church and all that kind of stuff. As
Yeah, it's
someone
the one
who,
thing I find really, I was going to say, it's the one thing, when you go to church and you've got families in church and people are telling their kids to be quiet and shh, shh, shh. I think sometimes we forget that we are a family. We have the good and we have the bad, and we should be loud and we can be quiet. But that's what we are, and we have to be real when we're together, be it on a Sunday morning or on Thursday evenings up at Trees. Like, we have to be real and sincere in what we're doing, and that is what's going to make a difference.
yeah, yeah. I mentioned at the beginning you were the first minister to be ordained by the new presbytery, Clèir Eilean Ì, Highlands and Hebrides. You've had experience of several of the previous component parts of Clèir Eilean Ì. What what for you would be some of the hopes for the future of our new presbytery?
I think coming together as the new, bigger presbytery actually has a lot going for it. I think we can learn to rely on each other in a different way than we did before. And I think in that respect, we are going to grow and we are going to flourish. And on a personal level, as I went through my training, I was the only one in my presbytery who was going through it. I was the only one in my course at uni, so it was quite a lonely experience. Whereas now we are bigger, and so therefore there'll be more candidates, more probationers, more ministers in their first 5 years, more ministers generally, so that we can learn, we can lean on each other, we can maybe do courses, do support, do mentoring. Um, and we've got this wonderful chance to change the way maybe we did church before, or to learn from what other areas in our presbytery were doing and bring it together to make something that is
Mm.
full of growth and excitement, but yet also got support in the middle of it for everyone. um, yes, this is
Yeah.
going to be hard, it's going to be a big change, getting to know people is going to be difficult, but I think it's going to be a wonderful experience at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I think although there are probably fewer face-to-face interactions, that there are many more opportunities for doing things online, as you say, embracing new ways of being the church. Yeah, so someone was saying to me just yesterday, is it not much more isolating when you're not meeting up with colleagues regularly? And yeah, there isn't the the face-to-face encounter, but I think I'm actually probably engaging with more colleagues online and in different meetings and different ways like this. And it's good to get to know folk around the presbytery. There's one question which you might be anticipating, and I omitted it from an earlier conversation, and then after I had stopped the recording, the guest on that occasion had said, I thought you were going to ask me who would I like to invite to a presbytery meeting to talk to Clèir Eilean Ì. So I don't want that to happen again. Have you got someone in mind that you would love to, someone living or departed, who would you love to come along and talk to Clèir Eilean Ì?
Oh, I know. I saw that on the list, and I was like, Um, do you know what? This is really personal, and it's not about coming along to talk to Clèir Eilean Ì at all, but it's coming along to watch what happens there. And that would be my dad and my sister. To have them come back to see where I am now, and to also see, as my dad kept saying, ministry is just working on a Sunday, one day a week, but to actually see the work that we are doing and what church really is. Um, so it's not for them to come and talk, but it's to come and see and to come and learn. And I think that if I could have one wish, that would be that.
Jade, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing these thoughts, insights, hopes, stories with us here today. God bless you in your ministry here and wherever God is calling you. For details of all that's happening around Clèir Eilean Ì, Highlands and Hebrides, do check out the website cei.presbytery.org.uk. This podcast can be subscribed to at Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and the video version at YouTube, youtube.com/at Clèir Eilean Ì.